Hi, this is Dr. Sunil Garg. On behalf of Essentials of Acute Care and Saving Lives, I welcome you all. This is an educational platform for all those who are interested in critical care. In my previous video, I discussed about shock part 1, which consisted of definition and types of shock. Now we will discuss about pathophysiology and various stages of shock. As we understand, shock and cellular hypoxia due to circulatory failure are synonyms. Here it is important to understand that shock and hypotension are not synonyms. In fact, patient of shock may be normotensive, hypotensive, or even hypertensive. Cellular hypoxia may be because of reduced oxygen delivery, it may be because of increased oxygen consumption, or it may be because of inadequate oxygen utilization at cellular level, or it may be combination of all. So what happens when the patient develops cellular hypoxia due to shock state? It leads to dysfunction of the ion pump at the cellular membrane level, which leads to intracellular edema and the leakage of the intercellular content into the extracellular space and derangement of the intercellular pH. If this process remains unchecked, it leads to systemic progression of this process and which in turn leads to acidosis and endothelial dysfunction, stimulation of the inflammatory and anti-inflammatory cascade, and further reduction in tissue perfusion and worsening of the shock state. Before delving into hemodynamic profile of various shock state, we'll go through the normal physiology. The major physiological determinant of tissue perfusion, or in other words, systemic blood pressure, are the cardiac output and systemic vascular resistance. It means blood pressure is decided by cardiac output and systemic vascular resistance. If cardiac output is reduced, systemic vascular resistance increases in an attempt to maintain the blood pressure or in an attempt to maintain the tissue perfusion. Or if systemic vascular resistance decreases, cardiac output increases in an attempt to maintain the blood pressure or in an attempt to maintain the tissue oxygen delivery. Cardiac output is the product of heart rate and stroke volume. Stroke volume is determined by preload, afterload, and myocardial contractility, and systemic vascular resistance is governed by vessel length, blood viscosity, and most importantly, vascular diameter or vessel tone. Here you can see hemodynamic profile of shock on pulmonary artery catheter in adult patient. Preload is denoted by pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, pump function by cardiac output, and afterload by systemic vascular resistance. Here you can see in terms of preload, all shock state have decreased preload except the patient of cardiogenic shock and patient of pericardial tamponade. Cardiac output, all shock state have decreased cardiac output except the patient of distributive shock. For systemic vascular resistance, all shock states have increased in the systemic vascular resistance except the patient of distributive shock. For ease of use, if you do not have advanced monitoring in place, you can use JVP for the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, or for systemic vascular resistance, you can use peripheries, means whether peripheries are warm or it's cold. If the peripheries are cold, you can say systemic vascular resistance is high, and if the peripheries are warm, you can say systemic vascular resistance is low. In most of the shock states, out of these two values, cardiac output and systemic vascular resistance, at least one is reduced. But some forms of the shock have normal cardiac output, systemic vascular resistance, and tissue perfusion. And it occurs in patients with the carbon monoxide and cyanide poisoning. And here is the problem of inadequate oxygen utilization at cellular level. Now coming to various stages of shock, shock is a physiological continuum and it starts with an inciting event. Inciting event could be anything like myocardial infarction, source of infection, or trauma, or any other etiology. The early stages of shock like pre-shock and shock are more amenable to therapy and more likely to be reversible than the late stage. Once the inciting event sets in, first stage of shock is known as pre-shock, compensated shock or cryptic shock, and it is characterized by compensatory response to diminished tissue perfusion. In early hypovolemic pre-shock, a compensatory tachycardia and peripheral vasoconstriction may allow an otherwise healthy adult to be asymptomatic despite a 10% reduction in the total effective arterial blood volume. Tachycardia, a modest change in the systemic blood pressure, or mild to moderate hyperlactatemia may be the only clinical signs of early shock. With timely and appropriate management, deterioration can be prevented and signs of the impending deterioration can be reversed with the normalization of the heart rate and serum lactate value. In this continuum, second stage is shock stage, and it occurs when the compensatory mechanism becomes overwhelmed and signs and symptoms of the organ dysfunction appear. These signs and symptoms include symptomatic tachycardia, dyspnea, restlessness, diaphoresis, metabolic acidosis, hypotension, oliguria, and cool clammy skin. The signs and symptoms of the organ dysfunction typically corresponds to a significant pathophysiological perturbation. It means in hypovolemic shock, clinical signs and symptoms are associated with a 20 to 25% reduction in the arterial blood volume. Means once the patient of the hypovolemic shock has signs and symptoms, it means that particular patient has lost this much of volume. And in similar way, in cardiogenic shock, a fall in the cardiac index to less than 2.5 liter per meter square is required before signs and symptoms appear. Third and final stage in this continuum is end organ dysfunction, and it occurs because of the progressive shock which leads to irreversible organ damage. Patient develops anuria and acute renal failure. Acidemia further depresses cardiac output. Hypotension becomes severe and recalcitrant to therapy, often related to vasoplegia. Hyperlactatemia worsens. Restlessness evolves into obtundation and coma, and death is common in this phase of shock. Hope you like this video. If you have any feedback, suggestion or comments, please write down in the comment section box, and please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Once again, thanks for watching this video.